You see this, Buster? This is the texture of passive aggression. I was holding the envelope up to my basset hound, who gave me the same look he uses for celery. A mixture of profound confusion and deep, soulful disappointment. No, really, feel it, I insisted, rubbing the cardstock between my thumb and forefinger. Buster just groaned and let his ears pool onto the welcome mat. This isn't just paper, bud. This is linen blend. This is I have a dedicated crafting room cardstock. This is the official paper of I'm better than you and your weeds are half an inch too tall. This is an HOA letter. Buster sighed, a long rattling sound that meant, "You're interrupting my 3 p.m. sun nap, you lunatic." He was right, of course. It was from the Crestwood Commons Homeowners Association, a governing body whose sole purpose, as far as I could tell, was to ensure that no molecule of joy or individuality ever breached the perimeter of our beige and taupe suburban paradise. I slit the envelope open, not with a letter opener, but with a car key I'd dropped in some mud earlier. A small, petty act of defiance. My eyes scanned the single, perfectly laser-printed page. Dear Mr. Gary Henderson, and occupant, it has come to the attention of the Architectural Review Committee, ARC, that your property at 124 Crestwood Drive is in violation of blah blah blah. Article 4, Section 2. Fencing and Barriers. The existing chain-link fence on your property has been deemed unsightly and non-compliant with the neighborhood's aesthetic and visual harmony. My fence? The one that was here when I bought the house? The one that was here when she moved in? You have 30 days from the receipt of this notice to remove the offending structure and replace it with a pre-approved solution. And of course, the letter was signed by the Architectural Review Committee, which was a laugh. The committee was one person. Brenda. Brenda, 3 doors down. Brenda, who laminates her Live, Laugh, Love signs. Brenda, who once tried to get our neighborhood's classic, read rust bucket, mailboxes replaced with faux Tuscan stone pillars that cost $3,000 apiece. Brenda, who I was pretty sure was a vampire, but one that feeds on joy instead of blood. The letter wasn't done. Oh no. Like a good little horror movie, it had a post-credits scene. Attached to the back was a small plastic baggie containing swatches. She attached swatches, Buster. Swatches! Buster just licked his own nose, unimpressed. The pre-approved fencing solutions were in order: vinyl, color, premium beige, vinyl, color, elegant Greige, vinyl, color, timeless taupe, wrought iron, style, Morticia's Garden, with a price tag that made my wallet physically recoil in my pocket. So, my choices are sad, depressing, comatose, or bankrupt, I muttered. I stalked inside, the beige envelope crinkling in my fist. My wife, Sarah, was at the kitchen table, surrounded by a mountain of bills and school permission slips. "Honey, guess what? Brenda just declared war," I announced, slapping the letter down on the table. Sarah didn't even look up. "Oh God, Gary, what did you do? Did you leave the recycling bin out for an extra hour again? She texted me, twice. Worse, our fence, the one that's been standing since the Carter administration, it's now aesthetically incompatible with the neighborhood's forward-facing visual harmony." Sarah finally looked up, a pen held captive in her bun. She stared at me. "She didn't actually write that, did she?" "She did," I said, my voice grim. I dangled the baggie of swatches from my pinky finger. And she attached these. Sarah's eyes widened. She took the baggie. Oh, wow. This is a new level of unhinged. Elegant Greiga? It just looks like dust. The color of dust. It's the tyranny of taupe, Sarah. And I'm being given 30 days to comply. I'm being aesthetically cleansed. Well, she sighed, putting the swatch down and turning back to the bills. How much is a vinyl fence? I picked up my phone. That's the second part of the attack. I'm guessing all of it? All of the money? A quick Google search and 2 phone calls confirmed my suspicions. To fence our small, pay 2-acre lot in Elegant Greiga, we were looking at a number that had a comma in it. A comma I was not prepared to deal with. Nope, not happening, I said, crossing my arms. I am not paying $5,000 to turn my backyard into a beige plastic box, just so Brenda can feel harmonious when she power walks by. Sarah sighed, that long-suffering sigh that I've come to know and love. So, what's your plan, then? You're just going to… what? Ignore it? We'll get fined. A slow, dangerous, and deeply stupid idea was beginning to form. Fined? Probably, I said, walking toward the garage. But comply? Oh, I'm gonna comply. I'm going to comply so hard. Gary, she called after me, don't do a Gary thing. Please, just be normal. But I was already in the garage, the door slamming shut behind me. Normal had just left the building. For 1 full day, I did my due diligence. I tried to be normal, as Sarah requested. I called 3 different vinyl fencing solutions companies, a phrase so depressing it made me want to take a nap. The conversations were all identical. Hi, I need a quote for about 200 linear feet of fencing. I'd start, all chipper. Great! We've got our summer special on our premium beige Good Neighbor panels, the voice on the other end would say. Fantastic! What's that run? For 200 feet, installed, you're looking at right around $5,800. $5,800? Does that include a small car? Or maybe a lifetime supply of whatever beige-colored food you people eat? Click. The third guy was more patient. Sir, the price is the price. The materials are high quality, UV resistant. But is it, fun? Sir, it's a fence. That's what you think, I muttered and hung up. Defeated, I retreated to my fortress of solitude. The garage. Buster waddled in after me, his nails clicking on the concrete, and immediately collapsed onto an old welcome mat, resigned to his fate of being my captive audience. My garage is not a workshop. It's a museum of good intentions and forgotten hobbies. It's cluttered, it's dusty, and it's sacred. It's the one place Brenda's beige tentacles can't reach. I sat on an overturned pickle bucket, staring at the problem. I had to remove the chain link. I could not afford the plastic monstrosity she demanded, and I would rather set my own house on fire than give Brenda the satisfaction of a clean, easy victory. What am I gonna do, Buster? I asked the dog. Build a fence out of, I don't know, old pallets? I looked over. Nope, used those for a failed composting bin. Build a fence out of old doors? Nope, Sarah sold those on Marketplace. My eyes scanned the glorious, beautiful junk, the camping gear, the fishing rods, I stood up. I walked to the back corner of the garage, a corner I hadn't truly visited in years. There, covered in a fine layer of dust and cobwebs, was a mountain. A neon-colored fiberglass and laminate mountain, my entire winter sporting history. I reached out and pulled. A pair of neon pink and lime green K2 skis from 1994 clattered to the floor. I tripped over them and fell backward, landing directly on a pile of snowboards. Oof! I sat up, rubbing my back. My hand was resting on the faded top sheet of my first real board, a 1998 Burton ASIM Air. Under it was an old Sims, an old-school Mori, a Libtech with a design so loud it was practically screaming. And skis. Oh, the skis. My old slalom skis. Sarah's even older, 200 cm long straight skis. A pair of cross-country skis I bought and used exactly once. A slow, dangerous, and magnificent grin spread across my face. Buster, sensing a shift in the crazy, lifted his head, one ear flopping inside out. "Buster," I whispered, my voice thick with revelation. "She gave me a list of what's approved." I scrambled to my feet, grabbed the beige letter from the workbench, and sprinted back inside, dusty and triumphant. "Sarah!" I yelled, skidding into the kitchen. "The bylaws! Where are the full bylaws? The 300-page PDF of doom!" "Gary, you're covered in... Is that a spider web? It's in your junk drawer, right next to the dried-up superglue and the warranties for things we don't own anymore." I yanked the drawer open, found the thumb drive labeled HOA crap, and plugged it into my laptop. The PDF loaded. A monument to petty tyranny. Okay. Xurol plus F. Fence, I muttered. My screen lit up. Section 8, Fencing and Barriers. My eyes flew across the text. 8A, all fences must be maintained in good condition, blah blah. 8B, banned materials. I stopped. I zoomed in. I read the words out loud as if they were scripture. "Get this!" I shouted. Sarah jumped. "Banned materials include, but are not limited to, chain link, barbed wire, raw plywood, corrugated tin, and plastic sheeting." I looked at Sarah. She was looking at me, unimpressed. "So? What's your point?" It also says, all new structures must be submitted to the IRC for approval and must be in harmony with the community's aesthetic. "Ah," I said, pointing a dusty finger at her. "But that's the subjective clause. This is the objective one. This is the list of thou shalt nots." And Sarah, I leaned in close. "Is fiberglass core, P-Tex base, winter sporting equipment on that list?" A look of dawning horror crossed her face. Her eyes got wide. "Gary, no. Gary, yes. You are not building a fence out of your garage junk." "I am too. It's not on the banned list. It's creative compliance. It's malicious obedience." It's insane, Gary. She'll have an aneurysm. A literal on-the-sidewalk aneurysm." "That's a risk I'm willing to take." I was practically vibrating. "It's the perfect loophole. It's not chain link. It's not plywood. It's not plastic sheeting. It's repurposed composite material. It's green. We're recycling, Sarah. Brenda loves recycling. She's always posting on the neighborhood Facebook page about sorting your plastics." "Gary, I'm gonna need more," I said, my mind already racing. "A lot more." I grabbed my keys. "Where are you going?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with the resignation of a woman who knew she was already beaten. "Facebook Marketplace," I said, a wild glint in my eye. "I'm going to war." The next 2 weeks were a blur. I became a man possessed. I became the scavenger king of the suburbs. My life was a montage of absurd, deeply questionable acquisitions. My first stop was, naturally, Facebook Marketplace. I set my search radius to 50 miles and typed in old skis. My God, the bounty. My sent messages folder became a testament to my new obsession. Gary. Hi, I'm responding to your ad for assorted 90s snowboards. Will you take $50 for the lot? Seller. Sure, but just so you know, the bindings are all broken and one of them is snapped at the tail. Gary. Broken is better. Snapped is great. Does it still have the neon green stomp pad? No, I'm not a collector. I'm a builder. Can I pick them up tonight? Gary. Hello? Do you still have the huge lot of old skis? Seller. Yep, $100 and they're yours. But they're all straight skis from the 80s. You can't actually use them. Gary. I don't need to use them. I just need them to exist. Vertically. I'll be there in an hour. I cleared out 3 garage sales before 10 a.m. on Saturday. I was pulling rusty 210 centimeters Olin skis from behind dusty water heaters, haggling with old men who couldn't believe anyone wanted their junk. You want these? One guy asked, gesturing to a pile of warped, water-damaged snowboards. Want them? I need them, I said, handing him a 20. You, sir, are helping me build a dream. He just shook his head and took the money. The pinnacle of my hunting career, however, came behind Ski Town Rentals. I was driving by when I saw an employee, a kid who looked about 19, wheeling a giant dumpster to the curb. Sticking out of the top were dozens of skis and boards. I slammed on the brakes, my truck squealing. I hopped out, looking like a madman. Hey, kid! What are you doing with those? The employee, who had an impressive amount of hair and a complete lack of enthusiasm, pulled out an earbud. What? These? They're trash. They're all D-lambs or the edges are blown. They're not safe to rent. You're just throwing them out? These perfectly good planks? Yeah, bro. They're delaminated. They're trash. They're not trash, I said, my voice low and intense. They're treasure. He stared at me. Okay. You want 'em? I want all of them. Will your boss care? Bro, you'd be saving me a trip to the actual dump. He'll probably give you a high five. Knock yourself out. For the next hour, I was elbow deep in a dumpster, lovingly extracting every last piece. I was a pig in, well, you get it. By the time I was done, my truck bed was overflowing. My garage was no longer a museum. It was an avalanche, a glorious multicolored mountain of 90s nostalgia, smelling faintly of old binding glue and mildew. Sarah just looked at the pile, then at me. It's a lot, Gary. It's a start, I said. Now for phase 2. I am many things. A loving husband, a dog enthusiast, a loophole exploiter. But I am not a fencer. I can't sink a post to save my life. I needed a professional. This proved challenging. I opened up Yelp and started calling. Contractor 1, Crestwood Fencing and Decks. Hi, I'd like to get a quote for a 200-foot fence installation. Absolutely, sir. We're installing our premium beige vinyl 6-foot privacy. Ah, no, that's the thing. I'm providing my own materials. Oh, okay. We can do that. What kind of material? Cedar? Pine? It's repurposed composite planks with a fiberglass core. Oh, like Trex? No problem. What brand? Well, they're K2s and Burtons and some, Volcals? Long pause. Sir, you want to build a fence? Out of skis? And snowboards, yes. I need the posts sunk and then the planks attached. Click, Contractor 2. Bill's Custom Woodwork. Bill's Decks and Fences. Bill speaking. Hi, Bill. I have let's call it a custom job for you. I need posts sunk, and I'm providing my own. Pickets. Okay, what kind of pickets? Snowboards and skis. You want a fence out of snow skis in Ohio? It's July, man. I'm aware of the season, Bill, but the bylaws are very specific. Are you in or are you out? I gotta call you back, man. I think you might be pulling my leg. He never called back. I was getting desperate. I was on page 4 of Google search, where the businesses don't even have websites, just a name and a phone number. Contractor 3. Sal's Fencing and Odd Jobs. A gravelly voice answered on the second ring. Sal's, what do you need? Hi, Sal. I need 200 feet of 4x4 posts sunk and braced, and then I need unconventional pickets attached. Unconventional? Sal grunted. Like horizontal? Like skis and snowboards. There was a long, heavy silence on the other end. I could hear a D-Riemel whirring in the background. Then it stopped. Ha! Sal barked out a laugh. Ha! Seriously? Deadly serious. I've got the materials. I just need the labor. Another pause. You're that guy over in Crestwood, ain't you? How'd you know? My cousin's wife is on your neighborhood Facebook page. She said some lunatic was warring with your HOA president. I didn't think she meant literally. So, does that mean you'll do it? Kid, I once built a chicken coop out of an old trampoline and 3 hot tubs. This ain't even the weirdest job I've had this month. But I'm charging you the what the hell is this fee. What's that? Time and a half? And you buy the beer? Sal, I said, my voice thick with emotion. You're a goddamn patriot. When can you start? Sal showed up the next day. He was a burly, no-nonsense guy in a flannel shirt that had seen better decades. He had a face that looked like it had been used to stop a few bar fights. He got out of his truck, took a long drag from a cigarette, and just stared at the mountain of skis in my driveway. He looked at the pile. He looked at my property line. He looked at me. He looked back at the pile. Huh, he said. He walked over, picked up a neon yellow snowboard, and inspected the edge. Okay, he turned to me. So, we alternating? A ski, a snowboard, a ski? You got a pattern here, or are we just going full-on Jackson Pollock? I was thinking a pattern, I said. Like 2 skis, then a snowboard, 2 skis, then a snowboard. Keep it classy. Classy, he repeated, deadpan. Right, and tips up or tips down? What do you think? Tips down, Sal said immediately. Better for drainage. Looks cleaner. Less chance for some dumb kid to impale himself. I considered this. He was right. It was the normal way to do this, which is exactly why I couldn't. No, Sal, I said, standing tall. Tips up, like a fortress of shred, a glorious, spiky middle finger to the beige committee. Sal stared at me for a long, hard second. Then he shrugged, a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. Your funeral, kid. My guys will be here Monday. 8 a.m. Cash. He started walking back to his truck, then paused and called over his shoulder. And hey, I'm not touching that old chain link. You gotta have that gone before we get here. And I mean all of it. I spent the entire weekend with a pair of bolt cutters and a come-along winch. By Sunday night, I was covered in rust, grease, and triumph. The old fence was gone. The battlefield was clear. Monday morning, 8 a.m. on the dot, Sal's truck rumbled up, followed by a flatbed carrying a gas-powered auger that looked like it could drill to the center of the earth. Sal's team consisted of 2 young guys who looked deeply confused, but were getting paid, so they didn't ask questions. All right, Gary, Sal barked. tossing me a pair of work gloves. "You're the art director. My guys sink the posts. You and me, we attach the planks." And so the symphony began. The thwack, thwack, thwack of the post hole digger was the bass line. The zzz of Sal's industrial strength impact driver was the melody. It was the most beautiful music I had ever heard. We started on the side of the house, the part least visible from the street. A practice run. "Give me 2 skis, Sal would yell. I'd hand him a pair of old-school 200 centimeters atomics. Zit, zit, T. "Now aboard." I'd hand him a wide, faded-out K2. Zzz-zzz-T, zzz-T. More skis. I'd give him a pair of neon-pink, hot-doggin' relics from the 80s. Zzz-T, zzz-T. It was magnificent. It was a riot of color. It was a beautiful, chaotic mess. The tips pointed to the sky like a row of jagged, multicolored teeth. By lunch, we had the whole side yard done. It's beautiful," I whispered, my hands on my hips. "It's a fence," Sal grunted, biting into a sandwich that looked like it was 90% meat. "But it's a solid-ass fence. I'll give you that. These things are bolted to the 4x4s with quarter-inch lags. Things not going anywhere." After lunch, we started on the front section. The part that faced the street. The part that faced Brenda's house. This was the main event. I'd saved my best planks for this. The '98 Burton Asim, the LibTech. A pair of pristine wood veneer vintage skis. We were building a masterpiece of malicious compliance right on the front lawn. We were about 3 panels in when it happened. The first sighting. Brenda came out to get her mail. It was a ritual. 1:30 p.m. every day. She walked down her perfectly edged sidewalk in her beige tennis skirt, a matching visor shielding her eyes. She pulled her mail from her faux Tuscan pillar. She turned. And she stopped. Just froze. Her perfectly coiffed, iron helmet of hairspray head twitched, like a robot that's just seen a "does not compute" error. Her mail, a Bed Bath & Beyond coupon, and what looked like a gas bill, slipped from her fingers and fluttered onto her immaculate, chemically green lawn. She didn't pick it up. She began to walk. It was a slow, zombie-like shuffle across the street. She didn't look both ways. A startled Amazon driver had to swerve, but she didn't even flinch. She stopped on the sidewalk, right in front of me and Sal. Sal had his impact driver poised, ready to sink a lag bolt into a bright blue snowboard emblazoned with a cartoon skull. Brenda just stared. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened. Again! She looked like a goldfish trying to understand long division. "Gary," her voice was a strangled whisper. "What is this?" I put on my best, brightest, good neighbor smile. I was sipping a lemonade Sarah had brought out, mostly as an excuse to watch the show. "It's my new fence, Brenda," I said, chipper as all hell. "You said the old one was unsightly and non-compliant, so I had it removed. 100% compliant, just like you asked. We're recycling too. Isn't it great?" She pointed a trembling, perfectly manicured finger at the fence. This is not a fence. This is garbage." I recoiled, feigning mortal offense. Whoa, Brenda," I said, placing a hand over my heart. "First off, that's a 1998 Burton Asim Air. That board is vintage. Show some respect. And second, I'll have you know this is 100% in accordance with the bylaws." "It is not," she shrieked, finding her voice. This is tacky." Tacky is a subjective term, Brenda, but the bylaws are objective. I read them twice. Chain link, plywood, corrugated tin. I don't see skis or snowboards on that banned list. Do you? Want to see my copy? I patted the laminated, dog-eared copy I had in my back pocket. This is not in harmony with the community, she hissed. I don't know. I feel pretty harmonious, I said, taking another sip of lemonade. How about you, Sal? You feeling the harmony? Sal paused, looked at the blue snowboard, then at Brenda, then at me. I feel harmonious as hell, he said, deadpan. And with a deafening zzz-t, he drove the final lag bolt home. Brenda went a color I can only describe as violent plum. She sputtered. She tried to form words. You will be hearing from the committee. You will be hearing from our lawyers. She spun on her heel, a perfect, rage-fueled pirouette, and power-walked back to her house, leaving her mail on the lawn. Sal looked at me. She seems nice. Oh, she's a peach, I said. Now, let's finish this thing. We finished the fence by 4 p.m. It was glorious. It was 200 feet of pure, unadulterated, spiky-tipped chaos. My phone buzzed in my pocket. And again. And again. The neighborhood text chain, which I was somehow still in, was exploding. Crestwood Commons Concerns, 14 members. Susan, 126 Crestwood. Anyone see what Gary Henderson is doing? Neighbor Ted, 118 Crestwood. Doing? He's done it. I just drove by. Susan, 126 Crestwood. It's an eyesore. My property values are tanking. I am calling my realtor right now. Mark, 130 Crestwood. NGL, it's kind of funny. My kids think it's cool. Susan, 126 Crestwood. It is not funny, Mark. It's hideous. Brenda, 115 Crestwood. I am handling it, people. Please do not engage. This is a clear violation of Section 12, General Nuisances, and Section 4, Community Harmony. Gary, 124 Crestwood. Hey guys, glad you like the fence. And actually, Brenda, nuisance is defined on page 54 as any condition producing noise, odor, or smoke. My fence is quiet and smells faintly of old binding glue. Very pleasant. Also, is this an official HOA meeting? Because page 12 says we need to post notice 48 hours in advance. We don't have quorum. The 3 little dots that show someone is typing appeared next to Brenda's name. They stayed there for a full minute. Then they disappeared. Brenda, 115 Crestwood, has removed Gary, 124 Crestwood, from the chat. I looked at my phone, then at my beautiful, ridiculous fence. I had never been prouder in my entire life. The next morning I was admiring my handiwork with a cup of coffee. Buster was sniffing the base of a snowboard, presumably confused as to why his favorite peeing spot, the old chain link, had been replaced by what looked like a neon barricade. I saw the mail truck pull up, and I saw Brenda, who had clearly been waiting for the mailman, march across her lawn, intercept him, and hand him an envelope. A familiar, beige, linen blend envelope. She pointed at my house. The mailman, a poor, weary soul named Dave, just sighed and trudged across the street. Got a certified letter for you, Gary, he said, holding it out along with his scanner. Oh, goody, I said, signing my name with a flourish. More fan mail from Brenda? She's intense, Dave muttered, not making eye contact. You have no idea, Dave. You have no idea. I tore it open right there on the porch. This one was serious. It wasn't just a notice. It was a formal cease and desist. Oh, they were using bold fonts. This was a level 4 threat. The structure, hereinafter referred to as the abomination. She actually called it the abomination, I yelled into the house, has been deemed an unsafe structure by the Architectural Review Committee. It is not constructed of traditional fencing materials and poses a clear and present danger to the community, its children, and its pets. Furthermore, the structure is not in harmony with the community standard and is considered a general nuisance. You are hereby ordered to cease and desist all further construction and to remove the abomination within 48 hours of receipt of this notice. Failure to comply will result in fines of $100 per day, retroactive to the date of this notice, and all legal fees incurred by the HOA in this matter. 48 hours, I cackled. She's not messing around. I looked at Buster. Unsafe? This thing? It's the safest fence in the neighborhood. I picked up my phone and dialed. Sal's. What do you need? Sal, it's Gary, your biggest fan. I need a favor. What do you want, kid? More planks? No, the fence is perfect. But the HOA just sent me a love letter claiming it's an unsafe structure. How structurally sound is that fence? Unsafe? Sal barked out a laugh. Kid, I sunk those 4x4 posts 3 feet deep in high-strength concrete. I used 6-inch, quarter-inch thick lag bolts to attach every single plank. That fence is structurally sounder than most of the decks in your neighborhood. You could tie a battleship to that thing. Why? Can you write that down? I asked. Like on your official Sal's Fencing and Odd Jobs invoice. Just a professional certification that it's safe. You're a weird dude, Gary. A real weird dude. But you paid in cash. Yeah, sure. I'll email it to you. What do you want it to say? Say it's structurally sounder than Brenda's deck at 115 Crestwood. She the angry one? She's the one. Done. Give me 10 minutes. I got the email. It was beautiful. It read, "To whom it may concern, the fence at 124 Crestwood is built to last. It's solid as a rock. It ain't going nowhere. It is, in my professional opinion, significantly more sound than the deck at 115 Crestwood, which has a 2-degree list to the port side and is a clear violation of, well, common sense." Sal. Sal's Fencing and Odd Jobs. Licensed and insured. I printed it. I walked to the FedEx Kinko's down the street, and I had it laminated. Poster-sized. I didn't mail it to Brenda. I didn't email it. I went outside with 4 heavy-duty zip ties, and I attached Sal's laminated letter directly to the front of the ski fence, right by the sidewalk, for all the world to see. I heard a window slam shut across the street. This, apparently, was the final straw. This was the act of aggression that broke the beige camel's back. Brenda had failed with the bylaws. She had failed with the cease and desist. It was time to escalate. She called the city. I was in the backyard, admiring how the sun glinted off a pair of 1980s neon purple ski poles I'd used as filler when I heard the whoop-whoop of a siren. I went out front. A full-blown squad car was parked at my curb. 2 officers, Johnson and Miller, were getting out. They looked tired. This was the kind of deep, existential tiredness that only comes from dealing with the public's dumbest possible complaints on a 90-degree day. "Afternoon, officers," I said, giving them a friendly wave. "Problem?" Officer Johnson, the senior one, sighed, and put his sunglasses on top of his head. "Sir, we got a call, a disturbance call, about an unsafe structure. And illegal dumping?" He was looking at my fence. His face was a perfect professional mask, but I could see his mustache twitching. "This?" I said, patting a nearby snowboard. "This is my fence. Just finished it yesterday. Built by a licensed and insured contractor." That's Sal's note, isn't it?" Officer Miller asked, pointing at my laminated sign. "I'd know that letterhead anywhere. He built my brother-in-law's shed." Officer Miller walked up and knocked on the fence. Thud, thud, thud. "Huh," he said, genuinely impressed. "It's solid, like really solid." "You betcha," I said, puffing my chest out. 4x4 posts sunk in 3 feet of concrete. 1/4-inch lag bolts. This thing could stop a small car, or at least a very aggressive sled. Just then, Brenda stormed across the street, a floral print robe clutched at her throat. She looked like a general arriving at a battlefield. "Officers, thank goodness you're here," she announced. This monstrosity. It's a public safety hazard. He's dumping his garbage, and that sign, that's slander." Officer Johnson turned to her, his patience visibly evaporating like a puddle in the sun. "Ma'am, is the fence on your property?" "No, is it on the sidewalk? Is it blocking a public right-of-way?" "Well, no, but is it falling over?" "Not yet," Brenda shrieked. "But it's skis. You can't just build a fence out of skis." Officer Johnson looked at the fence. He looked at me. He looked at Brenda. He sighed and keyed his radio. "Yeah, dispatch, this is 304. I'm at 124 Crestwood. The unsafe structure is, it's a fence. Yes, ma'am, I'm aware. It's made of skis." He paused, listening. "No, ma'am, I'm not. I'm not drunk. It's a ski fence. It's structurally sound. It's not violating any city code I've ever heard of." He unkeyed the radio. "Ma'am," he said to Brenda, in his "I'm done with this" voice. "With all due respect, this is not a police matter. It's not illegal dumping, it's a fence. It's not an unsafe structure. It's very solid. This is an HOA matter. Please, stop calling 911. But, Brenda sputtered, her face going plum-colored again. "It's an abomination." Officer Miller, who had been quietly inspecting the fence, leaned in close to me. "Hey," he whispered, pointing. "Is that an old-school LibTech? The one with the banana tech? Sick." "You know it," I whispered back. "That's a 2008. Good eye. That thing was a game-changer on powder." "No way," he said, his eyes lighting up. "Ma'am, we're leaving," Officer Johnson said, putting his sunglasses back on. "Have a good day, sir. Nice fence." They got back in their car. I gave them a little wave. Brenda was just standing on the sidewalk in her robe, vibrating with a rage so pure it was almost visible. She was beaten. The city wouldn't help her. The law was on my side. She had only one card left to play. The nuclear option, she was going to have to call a meeting. The summons appeared on everyone's door 48 hours later. It wasn't a beige linen blend paper. This was a wartime notice. It was printed on the most aggressive neon pink Astro Brights paper I had ever seen. Emergency HOA meeting must attend. Urgent. Topic: the fence issue at 124 Crestwood. When? Wednesday, 7 p.m. Clubhouse. Be there. The "be there" was underlined 3 times. She was done with pleasantries. Wednesday night, the clubhouse was packed. The Crestwood Commons clubhouse is a sad beige room that smells like old coffee, industrial-grade carpet cleaner, and beige paint. It's where joy goes to die. But tonight, it was electric. This wasn't just a meeting. It was the social event of the season. Everyone was there. People I hadn't seen in years. People who always skipped the annual budget review. They'd brought snacks. Dave from 130 had a six-pack, which he was discreetly sipping from a World's Best Dad coffee mug. It was standing room only. Sarah and I snagged 2 folding chairs in the back. "This is a lot," Sarah whispered to me. "I know," I whispered back, giddy. It's like the Super Bowl of petty suburban politics. At 7:05 p.m., Brenda marched to the front. She was wearing a red blazer that screamed, "I am in charge and I am not happy." She had set up a projector and a wobbly screen. She was doing a PowerPoint. Oh, this was better than I could have dreamed. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her voice tight. "I know this is short notice, but we are facing an unprecedented crisis in our community." She clicked a button on her laptop. The first slide popped up. It was just a grainy 144p, extremely zoomed-in photo of my fence. The slide was titled, in all caps, Comic Sans, "The Abomination." A few people in the back snickered. "This structure," Brenda said, using a laser pointer to circle a neon pink ski, "was erected by Mr. Gary Henderson without ARC approval. It is a mockery of our community. It is a clear and present danger to our home values. It's tacky." A murmur went through the crowd. She had some support. Susan, the "My property values are tanking" lady, yelled, "It's true! It's hideous! My realtor said it could knock 10% off my asking price." Brenda pointed at Susan. "Exactly! 10%! This is our equity we're talking about. This is a violation of Section 4, Community Harmony, and Section 12, General Nuisances." She was on a roll. She clicked to the next slide. "The danger." It was a photo of a ski tip, circled in red. "These spikes are a hazard to children. A pet could be impaled." Okay, that was enough. I stood up. I'd brought my own visual aid. "Brenda, Gary Henderson, 124 Crestwood. Big fan of the presentation. Love the use of Comic Sans, very retro. I just have a few questions." Brenda's eyes narrowed. "This is not a Q&A, Gary. This is a notification of a violation." Right. But here's the thing." I held up my own prop. The 300-page bylaws, printed, spiral-bound, and bristling with brightly colored sticky tabs. I'm more of a primary sources guy, and I'm a little confused. I love a good PowerPoint, but I've been studying this document like it's the final exam. I flipped to my first tab. See, on page 84, section 8b, the banned list is very, very specific. Chain link, which I removed at great expense, I might add. Plywood. Corrugated tin. Plastic sheeting. It says nothing about skis. It says nothing about snowboards. It's a fascinating omission, don't you think? That's preposterous," Brenda sputtered. "Is it? And as for community harmony, that's a subjective term, and I'd argue my fence is more in harmony with our active, lifestyle-focused community, your words from the fall newsletter, by the way, than a 6-foot-tall wall of elegant Greiga plastic. My fence has character." "It's an eyesore," Susan shrieked from the side. "That's just like your opinion, man," I said. Brenda was getting red-faced. "This isn't a debate, Gary. It's a violation. Now I am calling for a vote. A vote to levy the fines and force the removal of... I actually kind of like it." The voice was quiet. It came from the back. Everyone turned. It was Ted. Neighbor Ted from 118. A quiet accountant who I'd only ever seen mowing his lawn. Brenda's jaw dropped. What did you say, Ted?" Ted suddenly looked terrified to be the center of attention, but he stood up. He was holding a beer mug koozie. "I said I like it," he repeated, louder this time. It's fun. My kids love it. They like to go find the banana board, or the one with the skull on it. It's interesting." "It's not interesting, Ted. It's a blight," Susan snapped. "Is it?" Ted said, suddenly finding his courage. "Because frankly, Brenda, it's a hell of a lot better than the peeling rust look of his old fence. The one you ignored for 5 years. The one you didn't seem to have a problem with, right up until Gary put that vote for the other guy sign in his yard last November." "Oh." The room went dead silent. You could hear the air conditioner kick on. Ted had just gone there. He'd said the quiet part out loud. Brenda's war wasn't about the fence. It was about the sign. The fence was just the proxy battle. Brenda went from red to white. "That has nothing to do with anything." But the dam was broken. The spell was shattered. Suddenly everyone was talking at once. "Yeah," yelled Dave, of the coffee mug beer. "What about the basketball hoops? My kids can't even play in their own driveway. Is that not in harmony?" "And the paint palettes," yelled a woman from the back. "You made me repaint my eggshell shutters because they weren't off-white enough. They were identical. I had to pay a painter $800. You sent me a violation for my garden hose. My welcome mat was non-compliant. You measured my grass." The meeting had descended into a full-blown peasant rebellion. It wasn't about my fence anymore. My fence was just the symbol. It was the ski-tip flag they were rallying to. This was about years of beige tyranny. Brenda was banging the wobbly table with her laser pointer, which was not as effective as a gavel. "Order! Order! This is about the fence." Ted, now the neighborhood's revolutionary hero, just pointed at her. "No, Brenda, it's about you." It was beautiful. It was a wave of suburban rage that had finally crested. People were yelling. Susan was yelling at Dave. Mark was yelling at Brenda. Someone in the back started chanting, "Ski fence! Ski fence!" Brenda looked around, her face a mask of utter defeat. Her beige empire was crumbling. Her army had turned on her. With a strangled cry, she snapped her laptop shut, grabbed her projector, and fled the clubhouse. The room erupted in applause. I was hoisted onto Dave's shoulders. Okay, I wasn't, but I felt like I was. The ski fence had won. The aftermath was quiet. Gloriously, beautifully quiet. Brenda resigned as HOA president the next day via a long, passive-aggressive email sent from a new address, in which she wished us all the best with the new direction the community was taking, and warned that we would all rue the day we let anarchy prevail. She put her house on the market a week later. It was bought by a nice young couple with 3 very loud Harleys. I liked them immediately. With Brenda's reign of terror over, the HOA effectively dissolved. No one wanted the job of president. Nobody wanted to be on the Architectural Review Committee. The HOA became what it always should have been, a collectively paid bill for mowing the grass at the neighborhood entrance. The basketball hoops reappeared. Non-compliant welcome mats flourished. Someone painted their front door a vibrant, and technically not allowed, shade of teal. It was beautiful. And the fence? The fence stayed. It became a thing. At first, it was just a local curiosity. But then, the local news blog, the Ohio Suburb Spectator, got wind of it. The headline was magnificent. Local man's ski jumper. Fence puts Ho-A on ice. The article included a photo of me, grinning like an idiot, and a quote from Sal saying, "It's the most solid-ass fence I've ever built." That's when the tourists started. People from other neighborhoods, people from 2 towns over. They'd drive by, slowly, their phones out. They'd park and take pictures. I'd be on my porch, drinking coffee, and I'd just wave. Sarah would shake her head, but she was smiling. The fence had become a landmark, a minor monument to creative spite. "You're an icon, Gary," Sarah told me one night. "Or an idiot, I'm still not sure." "Why can't I be both?" I asked. A few weeks later, I got a call from an unknown number. "Gary, it's Sal." "Sal, my man, what's up? You need some more beer?" "No, I'm good, but I'm calling to thank you." "Thank me? For what?" "You're not going to believe this, Gary. I just got a job. A big one. Lady over in Willow Creek. You know, the really rich neighborhood?" "Yeah?" "She saw your fence, the blog, the pictures. She wants a retaining wall, a 100-foot-long retaining wall." "That's great, Sal. Get that money." "Gary, she wants it made out of old bowling balls." I was silent for a beat. "Bowling balls?" "Yeah, like thousands of them, set in mortar. She wants it to look whimsical. I told her it was the what the hell is this fee, plus a whimsy tax. She didn't even blink." "You're a pioneer, Sal," I said, my voice full of admiration. "A suburban artist." "Nah, kid," Sal said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "You are. You're a damn menace, but a paying one. You ever need anything else weird built, you call me first. I'm starting a new division of the company. Sal's Bizarre Backyards. It's got a ring to it." We hung up, and I felt a deep sense of peace. I had not only won my war, I had accidentally launched a new art movement. The true epilogue, the part that really got me, happened about a month after the meeting. I went out to get the mail from my normal rusty mailbox. As I walked back, I noticed something new on the fence. Someone, anonymously in the night, had hung a pair of cracked 1980s-style glacier goggles over the tips of 2 adjacent skis. They were just there. I left them. The next day, a single fur-lined ski boot appeared at the base of the fence, like an offering. A week after that, a single, slightly bent ski pole was stuck in the ground next to it. My fence was no longer just a fence. It was a community art project. It was a shrine. A shrine to what? I'm not entirely sure. A shrine to the 90s? A shrine to weirdness? Maybe just a shrine to not being beige. And I was its very, very proud curator. 6 months passed. The neighborhood rebellion had settled into a comfortable peace. Winter had come, and a light, perfect Christmas card snow was falling. I was in my living room, standing by the front window, holding a hot cup of coffee. I was just watching the snow. It was clinging to the fence. It was collecting on the old bindings, dusting the neon green and hot pink top sheets, and mounding on the curved-up tips of the skis. The old LibTech banana board looked like it was in its natural element for the first time in a decade. Sarah came up behind me and handed me a fresh mug, taking my empty one. "You're staring at the fence again," she said. It wasn't an accusation. It was just a fact. "I'm admiring," I corrected her. "It's my Mona Lisa." She stood beside me, and we both watched the snow fall on our ridiculous fence. "You know," she said, her voice quiet. "I hate to admit it." "What's that?" I asked, bracing myself. "That I'm a visionary, a champion of the people, the patron saint of pointless rebellion?" "No, shut up," she said, bumping me with her shoulder. Honestly, it's kind of beautiful in the snow." I looked at her. She was serious. "It looks like an 80s ski poster," she continued. "A very, very cluttered one. But it's cheerful." I grinned, sipping my coffee. "See? Aesthetically compatible, I told you." We stood there for another minute, just enjoying the silence, the snow, and the view. It was perfect, a perfect, harmonious... "Hey," I said, a mischievous little thought popping into my head. "I was just reading the new bylaws, the, unofficial ones someone posted on the new community Facebook page." Sarah sighed. It was a heavy, "oh God, no" kind of sigh. "Gary, don't." "No, it's interesting. Looks like the interim committee, which is just Ted, I think, put in a new rule. Fences made of repurposed sporting goods are now explicitly banned." "Good," Sarah said. "So it's over. We won. Just let it go." I took a long, slow sip of my coffee, looking past the fence, past the street, to my garage. My eyes landed on a large, forgotten pile in the corner. A pile of old, cracked tires from that project car I'd sworn I was going to fix up in 2015. "I'm just saying," I said, a slow grin spreading across my face. "Gary, they didn't say anything about recycled vulcanized rubber." "Gary, no." I just winked at Buster, who was asleep on the rug. He just groaned and, without opening his eyes, thumped his tail once. The war was over, but it was always good to be prepared for the next one.